Hi, I'm Paul Seal from codeshare.co.uk. This is the first video of a new mini-series that I'm doing, and it's showing you how to create an Umbraco property editor, but not just to create the property editor, to create it in a way that it is a package that you can release. So you can have it on GitHub, you can have it so people can contribute to it, and you can easily maintain it, and you can release it as an Umbraco package and as a NuGet package as well. So we'll have all of that by the end of this mini-series. In the first episode of this series that we're starting now, I'm going to show you how to get it all set up in GitHub, how to get the solution set up so that you've got something to work with, and then we'll move on with the other videos after that. So let's have a look at what we'll be building then. So I've been working on this over the last couple of nights. The good thing about property editors is they're quite quick and easy to build, depending on the one that you're working on. So this one here is one that searches giphy, so that's giphy.com. It searches for an animated GIF, and I had the idea that I thought it'd be good if when you're editing a page you could easily embed a giphy image. Sometimes you've got to go on the site, you've got to search for the one you want, so let's say coding, and then when you find the one that you want, you've got to click on it, and then you've got to be copy link, on which link do I need to copy, and then how do I get that onto there. You've got to edit the markup. So I didn't want any of that. I wanted to make it really easy so that if I wanted to use that one on my website, I could just search for coding, click on the image, click save and publish, and then refresh on the front page. Obviously this is what was already there before, but let's say we want a different image, so funny, let's pick that one, save and publish that, and then refresh that. So I mean, it'd be good for like blog posts or anything like that. For a lot of the time these days, people put GIFs on their content. I know it's not a professional thing to do, maybe, but it's for personal websites and things. A bit of fun. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today, and this video is the first in a series to show you how to do that. So first of all, what we want to do is get set up with the solution. Now I've already done it to get to this point, so I do have my solution over here. So I've already got a solution set up, and what we're going to do is start from the beginning again, get a solution set up, and I will show you how you get to this point, and then we will take my package from this point onwards to publish it as a package on Umbraco and a package in NuGet as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a repository in GitHub. So if you don't know what GitHub is, it's a version control. It's like the industry standard for open source, at least anyway. That's where, if you've got an open source project, most of the time it will be on GitHub. So that's where I created mine, and we're going to create one for this, for the purpose of this tutorial. So I'm going to create another one, but as I said, when I come to publishing the package, I'll use the one that I already created earlier. So if we just sign into GitHub, on our profile we can create a new repository. So in repositories tab, click on new, and then we're going to give it a name. So we'll call it my property editor, just to make it a generic name. And we'll just give it a description just to say a sample property editor for this tutorial. Or we could, say using Giphy search as an example. So do we want to make it public or private? Well, it can start off as private. You get unlimited private repos these days with GitHub, or you can make it public. So let's start off with private, and then afterwards I'll show you how to make it public. And then we want to add a license. I always use the MIT license, which basically gives everyone the freedom to do what they want with the package, mainly with the source code. I'm not going to initialize it with a git ignore. I'll show you how to create your own git ignore anyway. So let's create that repository, and The reason why I'm doing it first here is because then when we start writing the code, we've got somewhere for it to be saved to straight away. So when you've created this, all we have in here is just a license file. If you click on that license, you can see the license. It says copyright Paul Seal. So I do own the copyright, but I'm saying it's okay that you can use the code and change it, modify it, and things like that. So we go to clone or download, and I want to click on this pasteboard or whatever it is. Basically, that will copy this link here, and then I want to go to my folder where I've got all my GitHub repositories, and I just want to type in up here. You can either do cmd, and that will get the command line up, or you can do PowerShell, and that will get a PowerShell window up, or you can right click and you can do I think, is it shift and right click, new command line from here, open PowerShell window, things like that. You've got different ways, but I just like to type in PowerShell and press enter. So from here we'll just do git clone. For this to work, you need to have Git installed on your Windows machine, but if you haven't done, you just need to Google install Git on Windows, but it should be pretty straightforward to do that, but I'm not going to cover that in this. Click, so type git clone, paste in the address that you want to clone, and hit enter. So that will be really quick because it's just got the license file and just the things for that. And then if we want to go into it, we can do cd and then my property editor. There, we're in there. If we do explorer dot, that will open that folder up. The only main reason I'm doing that is because I didn't want to show you all of my projects in the thing. So there we have it. We can copy that address so that when we come to creating this Visual Studio solution, we can use that in there. So now we need to create the solution. So if we do File, New Project, and this is going to be for Umbraco V8. So we want to do a web project, ASP.NET web application, and if you're looking at how to get started with Umbraco V8, this part at the moment will help you as well. So it should be useful. So this will go into My Property Editor, and the name of this is going to be My Property Editor. And I'm going to call it .web, and then I'm going to rename the solution after. Do I want to create a directory for the solution? Yeah, I want to put it in this source folder, src. And then, so it's .NET Framework 4.72, My Property Editor.web, location, like that. Actually, I won't put it in the source folder just because on the project that I did before I didn't, and when I come to do the package I don't want to confuse things, so I won't put it in that. So My Property Editor.web, in the folder My Property Editor, ASP.NET web application, click on OK. Empty, don't tick any of the boxes, and then OK again. If you're working with Umbraco V8, you need to make sure that you've updated Visual Studio 2017 to like 15.9 or something like that, the latest that you can go. You want to have the .NET Framework 4.72 or greater installed. I think it's at least 7.2. So what that's done is that's created us a simple web project, but that's not enough yet. We need to actually install Umbraco. So if we go into Package Manager Console down here, if you don't see that, you go to Tools, I think, or Window. It's one of these, View maybe, but you can get to it by going to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, that's it, and then Package Manager Console. I like to use that rather than the graphical user interface for it. So in here, if we just type install-package Umbraco CMS. So this is going to install the package of Umbraco version 8 for us. It's 8.0.1. So that will get everything for us ready so we can make a start with this. The reason why I'm installing the Umbraco solution first is because this is going to be like the test bed. This is going to be where we test whatever package we're creating. So I do this on all of the content apps and packages that I have. So it's like a demo site. So the code that I write won't be in this site. So I'm going to install the default starter kit, and I won't be writing any code within this project. I'll be writing a project alongside this one that actually has the code, and then I'll show you how, when you do a rebuild on the solution, it copies files from that accompanying project into the web one so that you can test out that it works. And that's one of the main points of why I'm doing this series as well. I mean, you can follow the tutorials on how to create yourself a property editor, but that doesn't help when it comes to actually building a package and releasing the package and having a maintainable package as well. I can just show you how to do it within a solution that already exists. So that's the explanation on that. Just killing time while this loads up, and if we go into our folder, we will be able to see that this should be filling up now with things. So we've got my property editor.web folder, we've got a packages folder, so that's where all the NuGet packages will be going into there. And when it's finished, we shall see the Umbraco README file. Here we go. I put a pull request in. It's going to come out in version 8.1, and it's for the Umbraco logo made up in ASCII art with lots of 8 with version 8. Right, so we've got Umbraco installed. We need to do a build. I just always do a rebuild solution. So let's do that, and then what we want to do is we want to run this to get it to install the starter kit. So again, this is relevant for people that are wanting to get started with Umbraco V8 anyway. So if I do Control and F5, that will build the site, take us to localhost, and it will take us through the install steps. And when I'm doing packages as well, I like to do the same username and password of admin@admin.com, and the password is 12345678990. The reason for that is so that it's just a convention that I like to use to make it simple, so that I know every time when I'm working on a package that it will be consistent and I can easily log into it. 12345678990. And I'm just going to click on install. Don't need to customize because I just want the default install. So this will get the web project set up for us, and we'll be at the point then when, once this is set up, we will then be able to start with a sample class library. I'll show you in a moment when this is installed, but we'll do our actual main project in a moment, which is going to have the code that we are actually going to use for our package. Okay, so we've got Umbraco installed, so pretty easy to get it installed. This is the tour. I don't want to follow the tour, so don't show this tour again. And now we have our Umbraco website installed. So this is the default starter kit. If you want to see what it looks like, you can just click on the home node, click on the info tab, and this is it here. So from the demo that I showed you earlier, we're going to be creating a giphy property editor, so you can put things like this in. So that's the next step completed. So now we need to move on. So we want to go back to my property editor, and we want to rename the solution. So at first I called the solution mypropertyeditor.web. That was mainly because I wanted the namespaces to be right with the web project that I was doing, because I was adding the web project. But now, just quickly and easily, I'm just going to right click on the solution and just rename it to my property editor. So I always do this to take off the .web. And then now we need to add a class library. So add new project, we need to do C# class library.net framework 4.72, and I'm just going to call this my property editor, and it's going to go inside that folder that we were in before, my property editor. And click on OK. So 4.72 class library, .NET framework, click on OK. So that has now created a project in here. So you see that there. And we don't need that first class there, so we can delete that default class that it's added for us. And then we'll save that. And I think for now, we just want to do some ignores actually. So let's do the ignores. So let's check this back into GitHub. So first of all, what we want to do is make sure that we're not checking in files that we don't need. So I always just go to, because I've got the extension of GitHub for Visual Studio. If we go to Tools, Extensions and Updates, and then GitHub extension for Visual Studio, I've got that installed, which allows me, it picks up the fact that it's within a project that is tied to GitHub or Git. So I click on this here, so it says that I've got changes. Or you can go into Team Explorer, click on Home, and then Changes. And then you get to that window the same way. So I never want to include the .vs folder. So I ignore these local items. And then I never want to include obj debug, or obj in total actually, so ignore these. I do want the properties folder. So then my property editor.web, so I don't want the cache folder. So even though that's a specific cache folder, what I'm going to do afterwards is edit the ignore file manually, but for now that will put that in and I'll show you what to do with that. Logs I don't need. The reason why I'm not just ignoring the app data folder is because I do want to keep the database, because when I'm working on a package I just check that that SQL Compact Edition database in, and that way everyone's got the same version of it and they can see it, because if I have added any settings or anything like that, then it will stay. Models, no, I don't need, ignore these. I don't care about packages on this. App data temp, no, I don't want that either. So it's just a nice and easy way of deciding which ones I do or don't want to keep on here. So I don't need the models builder one. I'm going to leave out plugins. Sometimes I come unstuck with that, so these are what came with the default. They're probably not going to change. I'm just going to leave the app plugins folder, but normally if they're NuGet packages, then I would probably just ignore those in the app plugins. But if they are ones that got installed manually or things like that that need to be checked in source control, then I probably would leave them. So for now I'm just going to leave the app plugins folder. The bin I can ignore, don't need to keep anything that's in the bin, because that all gets compiled when you do a build. We've got config, we'll leave the config, yeah, we want to keep that in there. Keep the media for now, because if anyone else downloads this project, they will see the same media items as me. Obj debug, so I can get rid of that, ignore these local items. Properties, yeah, keep that, keep scripts, and the Umbraco folder, that's the most important one to ignore, because anyone that does get this package, when they do a rebuild, hopefully it will restore all of their packages. So when they have downloaded this off GitHub, if they click on Package Manager Console, there'll be a yellow bar that comes up here that says not all of your packages are present, you need to restore. Anyway, let's carry on. So views, yeah, keep views. So that's everything on those within the web project. And then we've got the packages folder. So this is the folder here that I mentioned. So we don't want to keep any of those either. And this goes for most Umbraco solutions that I do as well. I want to make sure that I'm ignoring all this sort of thing, because you don't need to check this in source control if it always gets regenerated if it was missing anyway. So click on Save All now after I've done all that, and then I just want to go into my git ignore. Oh, it's not updated that. Let me go into it this way. I'll just edit. Here we go. So what I want to do is, I mentioned about the cache, so I'm going to take off the end of that cache. So I want everything in the cache folder to be ignored. I want everything in the object folder to be ignored. And essentially that is my ignore file for this project, so I'm going to save that. So go back into the project. So now that will, it's got a staged commit and then some changes. So first of all it wants to push the git ignore file up, so I'm just going to do ignoring files and folders. Commit that staged one, and then it's got all of the files that I do want to actually check in. So I will just do installed Umbraco and commit all. And this is what I do every time when I do a new package. I start off like this. So I have a solution which is called, on this one it's called my property editor, but when I created it all I did my property editor.web. That was so that the project was called my property editor.web and had the right namespaces. I always then rename the solution, take off the .web because I don't want the solution called .web. I create the class library with the same name as the solution, and then I'm happy with all of that. Now when you go to changes you'll see that the compact edition database has updated. That's always updated, so you can just not worry about that. Just let that check in when you check in. Some people might want to ignore this totally. That's up to them. I'll just leave that on there. It's not a problem for me. Now if we go back to GitHub, let's see if this has shown up in there. So we don't see anything, so I've done a refresh and it's not showing up, and the reason for that is because down here we've got two unpushed commits. So we need to go into, you can either get to it by clicking on this and then click on push, or we can get to it by doing Team Explorer and then home, and then if we want to click on sync and then push. So that is like a shortcut to get to there for you. Click on push. That's sending all of the files that we do want to check into source control up to GitHub. So let's have a look at GitHub now. I'll give this a refresh. There we go. So we've got the beginnings of our Umbraco property editor package. And I think that's where we'll end it on this video. And then on the next video we'll make a start on actually creating a property editor. And I'll show you how to get it to copy over from this folder, anything you put into there, to put it into the app plugins of the web one as well. Before I go, if you like the video, please click on like, subscribe to my channel, and please share with others as well. And also with the final package, if you want to contribute to it, please go on GitHub and find it, and feel free to contribute. Thanks. Bye.